So, this is a new thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be talking about NBA teams, what they can do for the future, how they can improve, what their roster's looking like, and why not start with my favorite team, the Phoenix Suns. This team, well, they did some good things in the draft. I like what they did, drafting two power forward slash centers. I mean, Dragon Bender is 7'1", so I liked what they did because, well, if one gets injured or something happens, he's not playing very well, then the other one can step in. But the Suns, really, the problem is their point guards. They have way too many, and they were able to snag Tyler Ulis in, I believe it was the second round. But I mean, I don't know why. It's not really needed. It's to a point where, who's going to be your future point guard? You've got Eric Bledsoe, who's a great defensive player. He's not a bad scorer, but the problem is he gets, right? Is he going to be on the floor when you really need him to? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Is what I'm saying. And can he be the playmaker that this team needs? This team, they don't really have a great playmaker. Eric Bledsoe, he's a decent playmaker, but when it comes to creating shots for others, I mean, I think he'd rather take the layup. You've also got Brandon Knight, who's a good scorer. Honestly, you need to get rid of Brandon Knight. He's going to be coming off the bench. He's not going to be starting. TJ Warren, Devin Booker, Eric Bledsoe, they're all better players than Brandon Knight. And his contract is just huge. And for him to do nothing and just have that big of a contract, it's kind of ridiculous. So, now I'm going to be talking about their next young superstar, and that's Devin Booker. He has the potential to score 20 points per game on a nightly basis. He does. I'm not focusing on this game. But for the Suns, it's not going to happen in the next season. Maybe the season after. I mean, who knows? They have a lot of young talent, and I think that is very good. To have so many young stars. They've got Alex Len at center. I mean, he's not a bad rebounder. He definitely has the potential to become a 10 and 10 double-double type player. Defensively though, he gets a bit lost. He's not the greatest defender, but he can still grow, and I think Tyson Chandler is a great mentor for him. Speaking of Tyson Chandler, is he really needed on the Suns? I get that you need some sort of mentors out on the floor. You need some veteran experience, but Tyson Chandler gets paid way too much money, and his best days are significantly over. He's not getting double doubles. He's not blocking shots 2 blocks a game. He's not doing any of that. He's just someone that you're paying simply because your team is extremely young. And that's just, well, that's not good management. And what else did they do in the offseason? Well, they acquired 2 more veteran leaders, Jared Dudley and Leandro Barbosa. Barbosa, I don't know whether he wants to stay in Phoenix or leave. It's kind of all around for him. But speaking of Barbosa, I mean, did you really need him on the roster? You have so many guards. You got Brandon Knight coming off the bench. You have Archie Goodwin. He's struggling, but he's still getting there in the end. He will become a good player. Barbosa. Look, I love Barbosa. He's one of my favorite players. and one of my favorite players on one of my favorite teams. Isn't that really what you want? But to me, I feel like it's not the thing that they really need. As for Jared Dudley, I think he's a great pickup. Someone who can play small forward, but also power forward. He can stretch the floor, he's a great three-point shooter. He can play defense. And on a team like this, defense is really needed. Because you're looking at your guards, you got Devin Booker's not a great defender. Brandon Knight's not a great defender. TJ Warren's not a great defender. Alex Len is not a great defender. Barbosa's not a great defender. Ulis is not a great defender. So the acquirement of Jared Dudley really helps with the perimeter defense. Now Maurice Chris. Honestly, before the draft, I knew who he was, but I didn't at the same time. I knew his name, but I didn't know he'd be going to, what was it, the 11th pick by the Kings, but then he's now on the Suns because of trade rights. Or draft rights, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he's a decent power forward. I think he could be an athletic scorer as well as rebounder. Defensively, though, listen, I don't know much about him, but I know he's athletic, and I think he could be someone next to Eric Bledsoe that could be really, really good. And then you've got your wing scorers in Warren and Booker. You got your stretch fours. You know, Bender could just move up to center, stretch the floor out. Alex Len, he could start. He could be a double-double guy. I like what the Suns have done. They've got two young power forwards. They're both different with their games. But the problem is the guards. Who's going to get the most minutes? To me, I think you're starting Bledsoe. I think you're starting Knight. No, sorry, not Knight. Booker. I think Barbosa's got to be your backup shooting guard. And I think you got to give him around 15, 20 minutes a game. Somewhere within that mold. Archie Goodwin, I think his minutes are going to dip. Same goes with PJ Tucker. And I also think that Knight's minutes will dip. But how will this team do in terms of record? I don't think they're one of the worst teams in the league, but they're certainly not one of the best. I think for the Suns, all they have to do, I really think, is just wait for their younger players to really improve. And then they've also got to be patient. They've got to wait for them guys. I think they've got to trade Brandon Knight. Who do they trade him for? I think you got to trade him for a good, solid center. I think you trade Knight and Tyson Chandler and you get a solid center. Someone maybe of a Marcin Gortat build. Someone who is respected on defense. Who you can give the ball to down low and he'll give you something. Because right now the Suns, when it comes to low post scoring, it's a bit dry. Dragon Bender is pretty much their only low post scoring. And even he can't really give you a bucket when you give him the ball. Well, that's it for the Suns. I hope you guys would like this series idea. I'm going to talk about every single team in the league, what they can do, what they need to do to improve. I'm also going to be showing you some gameplay. If it looks like I'm playing like crap, it is because I'm not really focusing on the game. I'm sort of just like trying to talk. And you're probably thinking, well, why are you still recording? Just so I can get a bucket with Tyler Ulis. Well, that didn't work.